on to episode 4. Are we on our 4th episode?
This is the 4th episode.
Wow, and today we're going to talk about dating. Everyone's favorite thing to approach in their fucking 30s.
Yeah, in LA, the best city to date in the world.
Which is what everyone's saying.
Yeah.
They all know it. We know it.
The kids know it. The seniors know it.
The seniors know it. Oh my God. Well, I think we wanted to talk about dating in Los Angeles and in our 30s because, again, it feels like one of those things where you feel really lonely and it feels like, well, this is the only thing that's happening. And at least for me being single in my 30s, you see a lot of women our age getting married and having kids and you can't help but go, or at least for me, oh, wow, everyone's doing it but me.
Yeah.
And me personally, I don't think I've been on a date in about a year. I think it's been a year.
Same.
And so we're perfectly equipped and ready to talk about dating.
Yeah. So we have all of the hacks,
answers, and reasons. I think what's the biggest thing though is because we've seen so much shit in dating is why we both haven't been on dates, because
we've seen it all.
I've seen it. I know what's coming. You meet me, you want to take me out, and I know about you for 2 seconds and I can go, I know how this is going to go.
I think I'm at the point where I could just look at, I don't even have to exchange a word or two. I could just look at your Instagram and be like, unfortunately for men, I don't know if it's the same way when they perceive us, but unfortunately for men, I don't trust a man who sells himself too well on the internet, and I don't trust a man who can't sell himself on the internet. So where do they, what happens to them at that point?
So therein lies the problem.
Yeah. Am I the problem? Probably.
No. Well, we're working on your, no, never. You're literally perfect. You couldn't do anything wrong. But I think both of us, after all the shit we have seen, are hoping to find a place of open-heartedness and like a little bit more freedom around finding love, because I think we are so, I talked about this a little bit on the last episode, that I'm like, I feel like I'm always in my divine masculine and feminine, but mostly masculine because I just need to handle everything. I need to run this business. I need to clean my house. I need to do all of it. And that makes me quick to judge men that enter my life because I need you to match my energy.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can't.
I think for me, I spent my whole life from the first time I could form memories thinking that I needed to find a partner. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the end goal was finding a partner, having a family, getting a house, you know, the stuff we're all sold. And it's crazy because I think I was still on that trajectory breaching 30. And then COVID happened. And suddenly obviously I kind of dabbled in it post 30 and post COVID, but I feel like since then I just can't be bothered to even think about it. And I feel like I miss being a hopeless romantic and but I need to find the balance of like crashing out romance. Cause you know, I think we have similar paths where chasing it and needing the validation is kind of the fun part. And when it's easy, we're kind of bored type shit. I feel like I've grown up a little bit since then.
I would definitely say you have. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I do crave the peace now, but we live in LA where I don't know when that happens.
Yeah. I think knowing you from pre-COVID Cali, the hopeless romantic that after one day made a Pinterest board of her wedding with a man. I don't even think you had been on a date yet.
Nope.
I think y'all had just connected at a party.
Yep.
And there was moments of flirtations exchanged. And then the next thing I know, we're making a Pinterest board of her wedding.
Everything was a sign from that point.
Everything was a sign. Blue was a big thing. And then I think the Callie that I know now, and, safe space, I think, we learn things. It leaves marks on us. The body keeps score. These things happen of where there's probably you went so far in the other direction of like, well, I don't even want to go there anymore because it's an act of trust and it's an act of, kind of diving into something again and trusting others and trusting yourself, and an experience like love where I think both of us, you have seen me in some of my darkest heartbreaks, like it will send you into a spiral. And that's a really scary thing to approach, especially when we're at an age where like I'm at a point now, I had this thought last night where my business is doing so well and this podcast and everything that I have going for me. And there was that moment of like, oh, it'd be so nice to have a partner with me. And then there was, oh, but what if he breaks my heart? And then I lose this sparkle again, because heartbreak takes your sparkle and it's natural. But what happens if I lose? Like, I don't want to lose this. I don't want to give this up, for a man.
Derails.
Can
derail and it's interesting because I feel like a lot of men initially choose not to enter a relationship too quick because well, my ex claims that he didn't want that to derail all the other things going on in my life or his life. And I feel like for us, we're like, that's the last thing we think about, you know?
Yeah.
But I feel like we've seen it happen too many times now that we're just a little more cautious.
100%. So, yes, I agree with you. I think it's the most common tale as old as time is a man starts pursuing you, treats you like his girlfriend, acts like he's going to be your boyfriend, gives you all this girlfriend behavior, and then goes, I just have a lot going on right now, and I just need to focus on work, and then, like, I'll be ready to be with you. And it's like, okay, or you could just fucking handle both. You know, I can. And then when the inevitable heartbreak happens at the end of a relationship, it's like, I feel like women, at least in my case, I've suffered the worst. Whereas men, I think I've watched turn off the emotional component and pour themselves into work and like completely compartmentalize it. And I'm someone who cannot compartmentalize heartbreak. And it becomes all consuming, and like I fall off. I lose my money. I lose everything about me. And then I have to like crawl to get back. And I will say every time I've crawled back, I've gotten hotter and more successful, and amen to that.
Thank you, kind sirs.
Yeah. So I just think we know too much. Somebody gave me an analogy once that like, it's like skiing when you're an adult. You know too much already to just throw yourself down a black diamond. And I feel like anytime you meet a guy, it's like, okay, this could be a potential black diamond of a run. And I could just not do that. I could just not put myself through the hell.
I feel like I knew all of them were black diamonds, and I was like, let's fucking rock. I've been training for this my whole life.
Fucking rock.
So and I think, you know, going on dates for so many years, being on the apps, living in different cities, dating young, dating old, dating everything in between, every tax bracket, you know, I'm tired.
Yeah.
And I think the last hello, Susan. Do you want to join the conversation?
Come in.
There we go. Okay.
That's really nice, girl.
Okay, you want to listen? Okay.
You listen.
I think the last relationship I had, love him still.
You guys are great
we're
friends.
besties.
And
Like,
you guys
he's
were
great.
really good friends before. I feel like you guys fell back into that,
Yeah.
which is good.
And I think by no fault of, I'm not blaming him. It was just the reality of the situation. Like, I thought we were friends first, and I thought the friendship to lovers arc is like the dream. That's what, you know, that's what they tell us is what works. And I think the fact that it didn't work, it was more of like a high five, see you out there.
Yeah.
I think it did more damage to me than we'll unpack that later. But I think because that didn't work, the dream scenario, I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah, that's
I'm
what I was
tapping
going to
out.
say. I think that was a big exercise in trust for you because yes, the friendship to lovers arc is a dream come true, but also one where you're like, well, fuck, sometimes there's no coming back from this. You could lose a really good friendship over it, and that's scary. And I think there was so much about this partner compared to relationships I've seen you in the past that we both were like really rooting for this. And on paper, it seemed really good. And you know, I think this is really common. You know, I know you've seen it in my relationships, and I think it's a little bit of like classic LA men Peter Pan syndrome is their ability to dive into romantic relationships feels like they turn down this hallway and it's 100 miles long and it's littered with booby traps and it's the scariest thing in the world. For people like you and me, going into a romantic relationship is just a simple, you know, turn to the right, open the door, walk through it. And so it's really hard for us to like rationalize with them. And they've got all these things. I think a lot of men in LA specifically have all these like, I don't want to say like delusions of grandeur, but they're like, I've got to get my money up. I've got to get this company. I've got to do this. And then also probably subconsciously, there's like the never ending slot machine of women on the apps out in the world. I mean, there's the most beautiful women in the world here in Los Angeles. Like, of course, they're constantly thinking like, well, what if there's something else out there? Whether it's work, whether it's other women, whether it's like life experiences. I think there's just an ability to feel like everything is more disposable and that, you know, well, it shouldn't be this hard. And to some degree, I would look at a lot of my past relationships and yeah, they shouldn't have been as hard as they were. And it wasn't worth pushing through. But I think when in talking about commitment issues specifically, they are very quick to make up excuses. And maybe this goes on both genders. I think there's avoidant people on both sides of the thing here where, you know, you can go, well, I'm just not going to do that. Like, cause I can think of 3 million things that could go wrong. And so I'm just not going to approach it.
Yeah.
Which I think sometimes, you know, not that you're a stereotypically avoidant person, but I do think this last relationship made you a little bit more that way, because that was hard. That was a big thing for you to jump into and trust into. And of course, afterwards, you're like, well, I don't want to fucking go through that again. If it didn't work out with somebody that I knew and loved and trusted and formed a relationship with outside of romantics, that like, that's scary. That's scary to try to do that again.
Yeah, and I think we point at men a lot for the Peter Pan syndrome, which, you know, they've earned it. But I think I'm guilty of having Peter Pan tendencies, and I think my version of Peter Panning in this city is dating people who I know are not right for me, either for like short-term satisfaction or for a sense of control. Like I think, remember when I dated that guy a lot younger?
Oh, do I?
I think I knew from jump that was not my partner in life, and
Yeah.
I hung on to that for many odd reasons. But I think I thought maybe if I was older and maybe considered myself out of a certain league, that I had some sense of control. And those are the ones that usually like derail me the hardest, because
100%.
how the hell did this backfire? You know, it's like this, it's my own psychological torture, but you know, we survived and we learned, and yeah.
You know, with the Peter Pan syndrome, my ex that I dated on and off for 7 years, I've talked about him on socials. We refer to him as Larry because Larry has said a lot of unhinged shit to me. But he was so the representation of my dad, you know, of like giving me a little bit of affection or attention and then taking it away when I would reciprocate it. It was just this constant push and pull, and that was devastating.
It's a drug too.
It becomes such a drug. Yeah. And it's so hard to break the cycle. Like that was the biggest thing. The on and off again was someone who only wanted you when you're gone, only needs you, and you're the love of my life. I can't believe I let go of you. You're the one that got away. I can't live without you. And then I go, okay, great, let's try this. And they're like, not like that.
They really
Actually not like that.
They really crash out when they experience a single consequence, or when they can digest the consequences of their own action, and then they don't know how to either heal from it or deal from it. They just think you're gonna fix it. Like,
yeah,
he
and
did.
Then, yeah,
Larry did.
when they lose you, they somehow overnight. I've totally reflected on all of this. I know how to fix it. I know what's going on, and you want to believe it because you're sad and you love this person. You wanted this work, and now they're telling you all the things you want to hear, and so you get back into it, and they're like, actually, oh, sorry, and then they're immediately distant again, and it's so hard. And I really thought, you know, my last relationship that I had kind of broken that cycle a bit. I mean, he was very secure and grounded at the beginning. He was older. He was very, you know, kind and gentlemanly. And what I learned later is something called like future bombing. I got future bombed. I don't know if that's a real technical term, but I heard it on the internet where like month one, he's like, yeah, you're it. Like, you know, I would listen to this podcast. Kids, house. I want to get married. These are the vows, blah, 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 all this shit. And that was the antithesis of Larry, because Larry called me beautiful to my face 3 times we were dating, like the whole time we were dating. And like, he could never talk about the future. I couldn't even make plans with him that weekend. And now this guy's ready to plan the next 6 years. But I realize now it was in a much effort to control me. It was very much an effort to go, well, I'm going to provide all this for you. And like, this is a life. So you just need to do what I say, which was don't dress like that. You know, you don't need to post yourself on social media that much. You know, like acting like he's really supportive, but there was always kind of this undercurrent of like, well, what I say goes.
I feel
Spooky.
like I was actually just thinking about your dynamic with him today. I don't remember why. I'm thinking about you all the time.
And
but
I'm thinking about you all the time.
I think it was because I knew we were talking about dating today. I think that's what was it. But during that era of him, that older one, not Larry, the other one, we weren't really hanging out or chit chatting.
So sucked into him.
Yeah, and I that's happened to me many a time with certain guys. But you know, I have other friends that is happening too, and I kind of think that if it ever becomes that dynamic with like my girls, my closest girls, like there's got to be some issues here. 100%. Whether it's my friend trying to hold on for dear life, which is not a healthy place to be, and all their energy is going on to holding on for dear life, and so of course there's no time for friends, you know, or the control aspect.
It was so controlling. It was, and I even before that, I mean, summer 2022, before I got into that relationship, you were there. Wow, we were on such.
I'm still chasing that high.
Nothing.
Oh my God.
You could not, like, I was on top of the fucking world. I had never looked so good. I'm tan. I'm shaking
traveling.
my ass. I'm traveling. I'm the most successful year I'd had up until that point. It was a really great year for me financially, and I'm on top of the world. And so him coming into my life felt like this very natural thing that came in with that. And my world got so small. And if you would have talked to that Paisley before then, that would have been the first thing I would say to anybody. And I will still say 10 toes down today, do not let a man make your world small. If your world gets smaller, that's not a good sign.
Every time.
And I know this, like, I'm so cognizant of it. And it was like my big piece of therapy that I worked on, which is I want to bring this Paisley, single Paisley, into a relationship, because I get into a relationship and about 6 months in, my brain goes into scarcity mindset. I'm trying to heal the wound of my father, of him never really loving me the way that I deserve. And I feel like they're going to leave me, and I start freaking out. And I get anxious, and I get stress-induced paranoia. I think they're cheating on me, and it's a difficult thing for me to work through. And I was like so transparent with this last guy about that, and I felt like I really had my wits about me. And then I also felt like I had found this secure person. And so when all of that turned, and I started to do the thing where I was like, I'm not okay, I'm nervous, I'm scared you're going to leave me, but then I didn't realize in that I'm losing myself. And that's what falls apart. I just dissolve into a relationship and I lose myself in it. And then, but I'm great and I like me. But when I feel like I don't have a sense of self, it's really hard.
And I always thought dating older, they kind of maybe were a little more settled
yeah.
But I'm learning they're really, and it could be, there are generational differences, obviously, but I think the older you get for anyone, you just become more stubborn. And I think it's,
We're set in your ways.
You think, they must have it figured out, so this is a safe space to enter, but it's really, can they accommodate and can they sacrifice?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of getting there. Like, I can't imagine right now at this point with everything, with all the data I have in my brain, kind of shifting my personal flow for someone else.
Yeah.
So I get it, but I also have the emotional intelligence to understand if that's what I want, that's what I got to do, and do it happily.
Well, yeah, I think that's where the difference is. Like, I think emotional intelligence is the key, and that, to have the emotional intelligence to know that, like, there's compromise in a relationship, and yeah, you're not gonna at this point, you and I are not gonna let some man come in and just wreck our fucking world and turn it upside down and going, well, this is what I want to do. I remember that last guy was really pressuring me about having kids very quickly. And I'm 29 at the time. And I'm like, well, I want to get Peach Honey to a certain point. I want to do all these things. And I remember him saying, well, don't worry, I've got you. Like, in a way of like, well, I'll take care of you. In my head, I'm like, oh, so you want me to give up on my business and give up all these things so that I can be a wife and a mother to you and your children. Like, that's what you want out of me. It doesn't matter that this is what I'm reaching towards. It matters what I want to do in your world. And I don't think that you're like that. Like, I think you and I wanting to say, hey, we've got our shit figured out and I'm not willing to give up myself, but I am having the emotional intelligence to know that there's compromise in a relationship is a completely different conversation than some of these men that are very, like, domineering and controlling.
Yeah, there's like a line, generational line. I don't know if it's Gen X or if millennials are the first, but I'll just call it millennials are the first generation that we don't need men for things. Like, we don't need men for bank accounts anymore. We don't need men to start businesses anymore. And I think we're the first generation, if not a little bit of Gen X, to be the first time in history to ever experience that. And I think being born into that, I'm like, why are men freaking, why are they trying to like make us sit down, and why are they, but they're not used to having a world in which there's just a woman there doing all the things that women used to do. Yeah. And we've never lived that. So we're like, why can't you just be a partner? Why can't I do this and you do that? You know what I mean? And we don't know any different. I mean, we watched our parents maybe, do the dance that they do with their partner in that generation. But in terms of, falling in line and the trad wife stuff, I just can't.
Well, I mean, I think, I'll always say getting into a relationship and what I'm looking for in a partner is never anything that I can't offer. Like, I am not asking you to provide anything for me that I don't feel like I'm capable of reciprocating. And it doesn't mean that everything goes tit for tat, but it means that, like, I just want someone to match my energy. And I've mentioned this before, like, I want to be able to be in a type of partnership that allows me to step in my divine feminine, but I don't need that to be constricting. And I know I keep referencing this last relationship, but I think it was such an example for me, and it was a huge learning point for me, and the heartbreak was such a turning point for me in the way that I looked at relationships. Was like, yes, I got to feel that, but then at the same time, there was no flexibility around those like gender norm things, and there was no support in doing things with a feeling of equality. And I think, yeah, he was an older guy that felt like, well, this is just the way things are. And I remember one night I made this like really nice dinner. It's towards the end of our relationship. I cooked this really lovely meal, and we had gotten Susan at the time, and she's a new puppy, and we had a nice night, and it seemed normal. And I'm walking out, and I go, hey, do you mind just putting the food in the Tupperware, and I'm going to walk the dog? And he immediately, I watch his face change, and I'm like, fuck. And so I come back, and he's like, I need to talk to you. And I go, yeah. And he goes, I don't want you talking to me like I'm a little kid telling me what to do. And in my head, I'm like, you want to get married. You want to have kids. You want to move into a house. And I can't even leave the house and go, hey, do you mind just putting away the food while I walk the dog? Like, this is a team effort here. We're working together here. I'm staying at your place. Like, what do you mean I can't just ask you to put food in Tupperware? Like,
I couldn't believe every time you came to me with a story like that about that relationship, all I could think in my head was, does he know how hard life really could get?
truly.
Or how life inevitably will get?
Like how hard, the trials and tribulations that we'll go through in a partnership.
Yeah, and it just boggles my mind when they just can't think that, they can't think of how minor something like that is, or how my parents, they bicker and they have their little, but they call it their dance. Like they understand you pick your battles, and that is not a battle.
No,
that is not even a battle to pick. That's just like, you're being annoying. Like,
yeah, I'm like, okay, dude, like, sorry, whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't even think I asked it in a crazy way, but it's just wild. I think part of dating in your 30s and in this modern age, there's also sometimes unrealistic expectations that have been presented to you from being chronically online or seeing the Rolodex of people that are available. And so you just think you can make these demands of people and go, well, this is what I want, so this is how it needs to be. And I just feel like there's not like a ton of flexibility in all of that. I remember one guy that tried to date me a little bit. And, part of the reason why we dated some of the terrible men that we date, there's like an unending amount of like empathy and understanding in us. And I can go, I see where you're coming from, so I'll give you a shot, kind of thing. And I really tried to like go out on a date and give this man a chance, because he seemed really into me. He was really persistent. He never asked me a single question. He never asked me a single fucking question. He never asked me how my day was going, what's going on in my world. It's always like this kind of like, posturing, and this is what's going on, and yada yada, and you got to try this, and that maybe that's fine for somebody. Like, if I'm asking how your day's going, I'd like for you to ask me how my day's going. I don't think that's anything crazy.
Or anything about myself.
Or anything
How
about
are you going to
me.
know what to get me for any holiday if you don't know a single thing about me?
You don't know a single thing about me. And I think he tried to take me out to dinner, and I ended up canceling him I made a TikTok about this. I canceled on him, and I wrote a very sweet message. And I was like, look, it just doesn't feel right. I don't feel like you have an interest in anything about me beyond physicality or something sexual, and so that's really tough for me. And, thank you again, blah, 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 wish you the best. And he said, can't change the gut, be well, something like that. I was like, you don't even want to have a moment to come out of your bubble to go, I didn't realize I wasn't asking something about you, but what my friend Michelle said that I found was really interesting with the thing with like my ex and the thing with that guy, where these men are just like so set in their ways, is the reality is they will find somebody that will just tolerate that. My ex will find somebody he can be controlling over, and that will like to fall into those like very patriarchal relationship standards. Fine. But like, I just don't, my standards are at the point now where like, I'm not willing to compromise who I am as a person. I'm not willing to shrink into your world, and I'm not willing to like give up who I am to like make you feel comfortable. It's one thing to not pick your battles. It's another thing to go, oh, okay, I can't ask you to put things away without you flipping out on me.
Yeah.
It's so wild to me.
Yeah, I saw 2 TikToks over the last couple years that have stuck with me in regards to dating and some of that. And one, in the thing you said about asking question, or he never asked you a question. One of them was some girl, I couldn't tell you who the creator was, but some girl was like, does everything that your man or the guy you're dating or your boyfriend, is everything that they know about you information you've offered up to them? Or were they curious about anything, and did they ask you anything? And I was like, damn, I do have to like thrust information upon especially like or anyone,
Yeah.
to like get them to get to know me. I so desperately want to be seen and understood.
Yeah.
And you can't really be thoughtful with someone unless you understand the tiny little things, you know?
Yeah.
And I was desperate for them to understand. So I'm like throwing, these details at them. And the other TikTok I saw is a little more serious and a little deeper, but it was just like it was, you need to be with someone. And this is really personal for me. And it's really personal for you. And it might not be personal for everyone, but you need to date someone who will hold you and get you through the loss of your mother. And I got full body chills to think of it now, but like when I think about everyone I've dated in the past, I even brought this up to my ex, and he was like, I'm like, I wouldn't know what to do in that situation. And I was like, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, you admitted you couldn't be that person.
Can't get through this. Yeah.
Like, I actually don't know if I could physically get through that by myself. So
no.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think life partners is kind of where we're at, you know.
Like
are you getting verklempt?
Like, no, but like when you talk about picking
this is beautiful.
When you talk about picking your battles, like the Tupperware, shut the fuck up.
That's what you want to scold me
Shut
over?
the fuck up.
You know,
I'm good.
That's really beautiful. I think it's true. I mean, I think, look, we can sit here and talk about the things we went wrong, but that's because this is where we're at with it. Like, it matters to us. Like, we're deeply compassionate, loving creatures, you know. So many of us are in the world, and to think that there are these people out there that are so shut off from emotion and don't want to support you through something like that, like, that's not a life partner. So yeah, we're going to choose to just say no to dates and not be in relationships like that because that's what we need. Yeah. We've got everything else. I don't need someone to pay my bills. I don't need someone to like buy me nice clothes, like whatever. That's all fine. What I need someone is who's going to be in the fucking trenches with me and who will go through the shits because I'm going to go through the shits with you. I will support you. I will be there for you. But if you can't be there in my darkest times, it's easy to be there for me when I'm good. People like me and you, when we're good, we're on 10,000. We are the easiest people to be around. Yeah. We are humans and we will hit rock bottom and bad things will happen. And we need someone that will be able to stand by our side through that. And in week 2, if you can't ask me a question about myself, you're not that fucking guy. Yeah. You're not that fucking guy.
I think men, at least in this city, approach dating as if we want to merge souls, merge cells, be one. Yeah. And I think when you reach your 30s, at least for me, I used to want that. I was like, why are we not one at every moment? We're not doing everything together. We're thinking the same thoughts, whatever. Now I'm like, I don't really want to budge most of my trajectory. Yeah. And I want someone who doesn't necessarily want to do that either. Yeah. But then you come together when it matters and like you're there for each other when it matters and you find that dance. And I'm like, I think, if you talk about these things on a first date or on any date, men are like, oh, she's obsessed with me. She wants to. And I'm like, no, just maybe ask me a question and put some thought into something. Like,
be intentional.
And we've already, we have like 8 listeners at this point, and we're already getting comments about, oh, women in their 30s who hate men, like, oh, tale as old as time. And I'm like, first of all, we never said that. No. So the fact that you're getting that means maybe there's a broader conversation to happen right now. 100%. But, we're not talking about isolated, like this is a universal thing.
It's a universal thing. And it's one that's always been around. I watched all of Sex and the City for the first time ever in the last 6 months. I had never done it. I know, shocking, but it was a big thing for me. And all of the problems they present, these are women in their 30s dating in New York. I'm watching these episodes going, oh my God, nothing's changed. These are the same shit that we run into today. We are such an evolved society now, and we've learned so much, but the day-to-day struggles of just dating and finding love still exist. And I was always really fed this narrative, and like you were saying, the struggles of trying to talk about some of these things when getting to know someone in the beginning stages without fear of freaking them out are like this narrative that I remember being told, which is like, oh, all like guy friends being like, oh my God, I don't want to date a woman in their 30s. They're just so crazy. All of them are baby crazy. Like they just want to get married right away, blah, blah, blah. Like it's like this grievance that men have always talked about. And I remember like being in my 20s going, yeah, they do sound, that's a lot. Why would you bring that up? Because when you're in your 20s, you don't have a fully formed prefrontal cortex and you think like, no, I'm just going to be the cool girl. And I'm not going to ask for anything. And I don't want to be too much. And I don't want to do too much. And like, I'm not going to bring any problems to them. But like, no, you were talking about forming a partnership here. And this is what I expect out of somebody. Like, can you align with that? And if you're like, wow, she's crazy, baby, like a 30s girl, like I can't deal with that. Sounds like a personal problem.
But that brings me back to the first generation type shit is like, everyone is getting married later. Because this is the first generation where women not only have the access to everything for the most part, but they're also in a world on our phones where we see all of the options available to us, everyone, men and women. And I think that's that's the good part of Peter Pan syndrome, where like we don't have to grow up at 25 or 24, but now these men are dating people who have seen some shit and have gone through and learned all these lessons and now are, might be more challenging. Men just want like these newborn babies to control and like direct,
the amount of comments that I've gotten on videos where I talk about dating that are men like, this is why I date girls under 25, much less baggage. And it's like, I can't believe you just admitted that out loud. I'm gonna fucking freak.
I'm going to report you.
I'm going to report you. But I remember reading an article years ago. I mean, this was like 2014, 15. I remember I'm still in my studio apartment. And they talk about that. People getting married a lot later and how it often ends up being more successful marriages because people have learned how to take care of themselves. And naturally, if you get together with somebody very young, you become dependent on one another. But like, I'm so glad that, I had relationships throughout my 20s, but I'm glad that I still had this sense of independence where like, I'll just build a piece of furniture on my own. I'll just rearrange the house. I don't rely on anybody to do anything for me. I don't rely on a man to like come and figure something out. I'll just do it. And I'm so glad that I have that because then there's not this like weird thing in a relationship where it's like, yes, I want a life partner, but also I got to make sure there's someone that knows how to install this. Like, fuck it.
Yeah.
There's no need for any of that, I think it'd be really fun, in talking about all of the cuckoo nanners of our relationships, maybe some of the craziest dates that we've been on, because I for sure have a coffee table book of bad date experiences in LA that are so quintessential Los Angeles, that are just like, from the apps, whatever, that are just comical.
I'm trying to think of.
Okay, well, I'll start. No problem.
Start,
And here we go. And I'm so glad you asked because I've got a doozy or two for you. Okay. What are some of my fun ones? One of them was I went on a date during COVID, which I know is very taboo and you weren't supposed to be seeing people, but I met him outside.
Arrest her.
Right to jail. And I see this guy on Instagram through like a mutual friend, and I'm like, he's hot. And he's one of those guys that's presenting himself too well on Instagram. Suspiciously well. And I go, hot, but I didn't know at the time. So I think I end up liking up a couple photos. We start DMing. He asked me to meet him at what's that thing on Los Feliz, Cafe Figaro? Anyway, it's this little like chic East Side restaurant where all the people like sit outside and smoke cigarettes. Yeah. So he asked me to lunch and I go, sure. And I am in the area and I haven't been on a date in a while and I'm like a little nervous. So I'm like, I'm going to get there a little early so I can get seated and like have like some time to cool down. So I get there and I start doing emails on my phone. I start working and all of a sudden I'm like, he's very late. Like, it's actually like 10 past, 15 past when he's supposed to be here. So I text him, I go, hey, are you on your way? And he goes, yeah, I'll be right there. And I'm like, okay, by the time he shows up, he's 30 minutes late for the date. I should have gotten up and left, but at this point in time, I just need a man to look at me. We've been locked up for 6 months and I'm starting to fritz out a little bit. Like, I'm like, whatever, I just need a bit of testosterone. So this guy shows up with a girl that I actually sort of knew, sort of a mutual friend, whatever, that's no big. And he's like, chaotic. And he like sits down. He's like, hey, sorry, do you want to go to the beach? And I go, right now? And he goes, yeah. And I go, no, I don't. That's okay. I'm good. I'm like fully dressed in hair, makeup. I don't have a bathing suit. I'm good. I don't want to go to the beach. He's like, okay. He starts chatting me up. I order an iced tea. Never once is he like, do you want to get some food? Would you like to have lunch? Doesn't offer anything. And I'm like, all right, whatever. And then he goes, there's this really great vintage store in the corner. Why don't we go in there afterwards and we'll pick something out? And I go, okay. fun. So he walks around the store. We're kind of having like this giggly little moment. He picks out this dress for me and this little set that are like kind of fun. And he's acting like, he walks me to the register. He's acting like he's going to buy these outfits for me, which I probably would have, pulled out my credit card anyway and been like, oh no, I'll get it. Like, oh, you sure? Thank you. Like, whatever. But he's acting like he's going to buy these for me. He wouldn't pick them out, which is like, okay, what a flex on the first date. You're trying to make up for the fact that you're late. He literally gets to the register, looks at me and goes, okay, I'll see you out front. And walks out. And I go, okay. And I hand them whatever. It's at a thrift store. It's cheap. So I buy it. I go outside. He's smoking a cigarette in front of my car and taking selfies. And then asks me if I can drive him to Goodwill. And I go, okay. And I get in the car. He continues to finish his cigarette and take selfies. And I drop him off. And he calls me a few hours later. And I'm like, well, I'm never seeing that person again. And he's like, what's up, babe? Like, we're back at Figaro. You should come down here. And I was like, no, like, I'm good. And he's like, well, why don't you pack a bag and come stay with me this weekend? In his studio apartment in Echo Park. And I go, no, that's okay. And I hang up the phone with him and I text him and I go, thanks again for lunch today. Like, whatever, my iced tea. And I go, but I'd rather be on some homie shit. And he goes, some homie shit? Nah, I'm good. And unfollows me on Instagram.
I feel like
incredible. What are your bad dates?
It's crazy. I feel like I've erased that memory card from my brain.
Cleared that SD card.
I know there's some good ones. I know I've had, in New York at least, I had a guy show up to a date. This is middle of winter in New York. I don't know if it's relevant because we live in LA now, if that's not the vibe. But
everyone's listening.
In New York, I was going on dates to feed myself because I was on a startup salary. And it was dead of winter. And this is like a alert on our phone. Blizzard.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck it, I'm hungry. Dead of winter. I picked a spot walking distance from my place because, of course, I can't believe I had to pick the spot, but I'm glad I did in that condition. He comes to the bar. He's already like, I think a bottle and a half. He said he was drunk, like a bottle and a half of wine deep. I'm hungry and he feeds me, which is great.
God bless him for that.
But it gets to a point at the end of the meal where, and we're drinking at the dinner. And this is the point where like, there's nothing going on behind those eyes.
Mm-hmm. Lights on, no one's fucking home.
We pay our bill and, there's a bar in the restaurant. So we kind of get up and go over there. And this man is like physically draping himself onto me. And the bartender and other patrons can see me kind of being like this and trying to like dodge him off. And of course I'm like 24. Yeah, and I'm like, what do I do? Punch him? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. You don't know how to go, hey, can you take a step back?
And so I'm like audibly saying no at this point. I'm like, and so the guy at the door had to come and physically lift him up and put him into a taxi. Mm-hmm. And I just said, and he texted me the next day, like, had a great time. Would love to see you again. And
are you fucking high?
Crazy.
That's what I can't get the next day texts that are like, I had so much fun.
Like, are we on a different planet?
We had two very different experiences. The confidence is unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal.
It's crazy. And this is, again, when we say we've seen some shit, all of these experiences are just stored in a little filing cabinet in my brain. And it's gotten to a point where I don't hate men. No. I have so many amazing men in my life. I'm having a hard time seeing them in the capacity that I used to want to see them in. Mm. Like,
I see the rose-colored glasses have come off.
I feel like I centered men so much, and I feel like I've decentered them so much to the point where I'm like, I'm trying to find a happy medium.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think you're on your journey. You've been here where it's like overly romanticized, and now you're here where it's like severe indifference to where you're like, I just can't even see them. I can't even approach that topic. I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah.
And I think you will find a happy meeting. I do think you're on a journey there. There's been a few instances every once in a while where I get like a little crack of light through it, where you're like, I think that guy was kind of cute, and I go, you did. You did. That's great. I'll get like a little crack. And look, I think it's all part of the journey. I mean, you would have talked to me. It's been 2 years that I've been single. And the first 6 months of that, I was like, I'll never love again. I will never find anyone else. And I will never be okay again. And now look at me. I haven't found anyone else, but I'm ready. Yeah. And I'm excited about it.
I think I've been to the whole I'll never find love, like despair.
Yeah.
But
I
now,
don't think you're in despair.
no. Now I'm like, I'm so okay.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know. There's some underlying stuff there, but I'm so okay that I don't even want to like lift up that rock.
Well, I think there's like a really interesting tipping point that always comes at like healing from a breakup, you know, going through some of the growing pains of getting back to yourself after heartbreak, where you find yourself again and you go, it'd be cool, but I'm not pressed about it, and that's when it comes, you know?
Yeah.
And I think especially I had this theory with myself at least where look, I went through okay, so here's my timeline. I had my heart shattered into a million pieces by this guy, this last relationship that I'm in. I spend 6 months still pining after him, trying to fix things because I thought this is my husband. I got future bombed. I have to fix it. This is all my fault. It turns out it was not all my fault. And then after that, when you're finally like, okay, I'm done with this, I get into a place where I'm like, I have to find somebody. Because you want to feel the void and it'll feel validating. And the best way to get over your crush is to get 5 new crushes. And so that's like a really weird clenching period. And then you kind of enter this period of like, I don't need somebody, but it'd be a nice to have. And I feel really good about myself again. And I think in order for me to be in the type of partnership that I want, I don't need to go chasing after some man. Like he can come find me. I'm here. I'm available. What's me running after this idea energetically or physically of finding somebody that's going to actually become like a fruitful, successful relationship that I want? Like I had to chase down fucking Larry. I had to pin him down. You know, I that didn't work. So why would I put myself in that position again? And I do think you're going to find yourself where somebody kind of shows up in your life that piques your interest enough and will make the effort. And I see you eye rolling, but I think eventually, maybe in a period of time, maybe further away from now than we think.
I don't know, because
Okay.
to me it doesn't. Not that I'm like against it. Like everyone loves a pleasant surprise, but it to me is not even really a nice to have.
Okay.
You
Now
know,
we're getting into it.
yeah. Like, yeah.
Like it would be like a cherry on top kind of thing.
No.
Perfect. Like I'm at the point now where when I ovulate, watch out. I make some questionable decisions. I ovulate and I'm like, somebody needs to just throw me through a fucking wall. Like I don't care what their name is. You've seen me make questionable choices around it. And then I come out of it and I go, well, that was weird. But like the physical touch of a man, my last, you know, maybe we'll cut this, maybe we'll keep it. My last sexual experience was not a good one. It was a sad experience. It was like oh, that was it? Oh, you're done? So I'm ready, at least for some physical contact, I would say. But you don't even have those moments.
No, I don't. I'm.
Oh my God.
I don't even think about sex unless there's emotions involved. I think that's called demisexual. Like you need the emotional. I used to think I was sapiosexual. Like
What the fuck is sapiosexual?
that's like you are attracted sexually to intelligence. And then I learned that is not the case.
Okay.
It's really
because we dated idiots.
yeah, I've dated really smart people too. And I was like, this isn't it.
This isn't it.
It is the emotional connection. Like both ways.
Yeah.
You know, that's what makes me physically respond. And
I will say that sex is better for me when I have a deeper emotional connection with them. I always, you know, like for sure. I can.
But I can't even think about it. My body just doesn't work unless that is the case anymore. It used to in my 20s, I feel like, but now I've kind of like leveled out, which is kind of nice.
I wish it was the case because there are some times where like, you know, and I've talked about this before. I got off birth control 2 years ago now, and regulating that meant some really intense period cycles. And occasionally the ovulation of a really intense period cycle, I would be like seeing red. Like I couldn't think of anything other than like just being flirty. I was so horny. I'm so like texty. I'm so all over it. And then I come out of it and I go, who the fuck
Who did I text?
was I talking to?
That jar of mayonnaise in the corner?
Not the jar of mayonnaise. Oopsies. But I'm like, who the fuck did I think I was in love with? And then I go, oh, I was just ovulating. Oopsies. I wish I could stop thinking about sex like that, but I have not found that place yet.
I'm kind of the grass is always greener. Like it is boring, but it is nice not having to really. It might also be like a chemical thing I got to figure out. You know?
Hormones, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Something
Or
like
you
that.
think other kind of chemicals?
Probably other. Well, I don't know the scientific part of it, but
I don't
like
know.
the high functioning depression.
Oh yeah, that's
Could be a
something.
thing.
Yeah. No libido.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think like the biggest thing that I've learned, I think the biggest thing that I've learned from dating in LA is that, like, just like we said, your world cannot get small. Like, you need community and you need people around you, A, to get you through heartbreak, and B, like, when you're in it and you get sucked into the vacuum that is a relationship, you sort of lose your equilibrium and you lose your sense of, oh, hey, that actually wasn't right. Or maybe I'm overreacting to something. And so to have touch points with your girlfriends and people that you love and trust that are unbiased opinions on the outside to go, what about this? Well, what about, have you thought about this?
Yeah.
And then you're like,
Hello?
no, I've just been arguing about my sock drawer
Yeah.
for 2 hours, you know, because you just it gets so consuming of your brain. And I for sure would not have made it through any of my breakups without friendships, like near, dear, and just sort of acquaintances.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's really important to find, keep those friends, because even before you get in a relationship, because you need to find someone that can not only mesh with your people, but I think a good litmus test of the partner coming into your life is, would you rather spend your time with them over your favorite people in the world?
Yeah.
And looking back, a lot of the times that was a no. You know, I mean, delusional.
2020 hindsight.
Yeah. So it's like a good way to be like, is this man worth my time?
But I think, you know, your friendships, who you surround yourself with and who they surround yourself with, are so important. In my last relationship, that guy, his friend, I was like, oh, these aren't people I would want to spend time with if I wasn't with this person. I don't think they hold the same beliefs that I do.
No, they don't.
My ex didn't know what the word patriarchy meant, so you can infer what that group of friends would like.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think community is so important. I think especially in the day and age that we live in, with all of the technology and how isolating it can be and how isolating Los Angeles can be, community is so fucking key to surviving. It takes a goddamn village to survive this world. And if you lose that because you want to be with one person, that one person is not good for you. That person should not make your world get small.
I think that's another reason why I don't even see a partner as a nice to have, or I am not thinking about it at all, is because I just have amazing community, and my ex included, and his community that is now my community. Like,
We're surrounded
I
by
have
so
all the
much
things,
love.
and when you don't put the like romantic label on it, there's less pressure, less ownership,
Yeah.
you know, less clenching.
Yeah.
And I think that to me just feels like a weight lifted off.
Yeah.
Maybe one day I will re-clench in a way, but
I don't ever
Not
see
clench,
you clenching again. I do see you finding a space. I think someone's going to pique your interest. I do think there's someone that's going to like awaken you, because I was the same way, where I was like, I'm never, like, I literally thought I was broken. I'm never going to feel joy again. And then someone piqued my interest. And like we said, it was for all the wrong reasons. It was not my person, but like, I do believe that they came in to make me feel something again. And it just, even if it's just the possibility, even if there's just a shift in knowing that there's a possibility that you could feel romantic love again, that in and of itself is such a gift, you know? And I know you still don't like it at
We'll
all.
see.
I know you, I see
We'll
your
see,
face
but
and
I'm
you
like,
go, I don't want it.
I'm not even looking. I think, yeah, maybe one day.
I know you're not seeking romantic partnership to add or bring joy to your life, and that you're very content with where you are. All of it is just to say that I do think there'll be someone that comes across, because you've learned so many lessons and you have so many tools in your tool belt, and you've gone through so many lily pads to go, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. And you're just at this point where you're like, meet my standards or don't come in at all.
Yeah.
And so that means someone really good could just show up, you know?
I think also kind of a difference in our approach is you want kids.
I do.
And I've always wanted to have kids. Like my mom always said that switch was going to flip eventually. And I've just never really felt that. And so
And that's okay.
And I kind of meeting other people like Kiana and like that are just adamant that they don't want kids, and they see that. And I'm like, wow, I can actually think that too. And it was kind of this weight lifted off, because I was in a rush.
Yeah.
And I was looking at the clock and I was like, I have to like
I need
like
to
the person.
meet this person. I get engaged by then and get married by then. So we have kids in, and it's still going
TikTok,
to be this.
bitch.
Because TikTok, motherfucker.
And
Yeah.
now I'm like,
I think that's such a radical acceptance and such a social norm that we should be more accepting of, that women aren't just created to create babies. Like, it is okay to take a different path, and I fully support you on that journey. I have many wonderful friends in my life who do that. And I kind of had the opposite effect, which is where all of my 20s, I was like, I'm never going to get married and have kids. But like, product of divorce, you know, you're like so scarred by it. And then like a lot of people, they turn 30 and you just kind of get this maternal instinct. And I do think even though my past relationships didn't work out, there were moments in time where they were very blissful and loving, and I could picture myself having kids with that person. And so once that was kind of turned on in me, I went, yeah, that's what I want. I do. I want kids, and I think I'd be a really cool mom, and I think I'd be really fun and really neat.
And I'd be a really cool auntie.
And you'd be the coolest. And that's like, I think that's also part of my desire to have kids is like, the village. I didn't grow up in a family that had a village. My dad was pretty antisocial, and we had some family friends. We would do some things with it, but I witness a lot of friends today who, like the friends I kept through Larry, were, you know, a little bit older, and they all have kids, and I watch them all come together, and I watch them have their kids grow up together. Oh, this is what's going to make me all verklempt. And I just think it's like, it's just so beautiful to have that sense of community for them. And so that's kind of part of it. As much as I'm like, do I bring a kid into the world that we have today? That's a scary thought and a whole other existential argument. But like, I love this community, and I have a dear friend who just found out she's pregnant, and I won't spoil her pregnancy announcement on here, but I keep going, our baby, you know, like I'm so excited to experience this chapter of life with this person. And I know my friends would be so loving, just like you said, to be a cool aunt and to be a part of that life. So yeah, I definitely want kids, you know.
It's funny, the best people in the world are my friends, obviously. But
our chosen family.
I want all of my friends to have kids because they're going to be the best. They're going to create the best future people. You know what I mean? Yeah. Unfortunately, I do know a lot of amazing people that have kind of weighed the options, and they don't want to have kids. And I'm sad that the people who I think should not be having
You're like, we need
kids.
more of your DNA and you're not these other people.
Yeah. And like, I do think my friend Kaya had a really good point, is like the people, and this, she almost made me reconsider and think, oh, like almost on a dime, I reconsidered my stance, because the people who are really thinking about this in a logical, emotional, like, they're really understanding the consequences of having kids, will probably be the best parents. Yeah. And I do think I'd be a really good mom.
Oh, you'd be amazing.
But I just like, there's something in me that just can't picture all of it.
Yeah.
But, you know, if maybe there's an oopsie baby in my future, who knows? But
and we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, but I'm also pro-abortion. So
very poor choice in this house.
So yeah, we'll see what happens. Like, yeah.
We will.
Yeah.
And I think that's really nice.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's time for my question of the day.
Uh-oh.
And we know that I don't think about this ahead of time. This is just what's going to come in my brain as we sit here, and I look lovingly into your eyes, and I think about, what do I want to ask Callie today? Oh, okay. Money's no object in the world. What's the number one thing you would buy for yourself right now?
A dog.
I should have fucking known.
Like what? I mean, I would adopt a dog. I wouldn't buy one, but that requires money.
The very first thing you would do is get a dog?
Well, first I would get a backyard.
Oh, yeah, backyard.
Yeah, backyard, and then a dog or 3.
That's nice.
But like, if I really thought about it more, I think that's it. Yeah.
But if I really thought about more, no,
I was like, that was my impulsive response. But trying to think if there's anything else in this world I want other than a couple people to be shoved into a rocket and sent to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, that and Elon Musk trapped to a fucking rocket.
Or a submersible again.
That and Donald Trump and Elon Musk in the submersible Titanic.
I would fund that entire endeavor. Anyways, those are the 2 things I would love.
I love that.
I'm going to be put on a watch list.
Yeah, so we got to cut that before the FBI is after us.
What about you?
The one thing that I would buy.
Every vintage thing ever.
Yeah, created. Just the entire vintage store that I shop at. Just all pieces of clothing. No, material items aside, because there's a lot of things on my list right now. Genuinely, what I really want to buy is my boxing gym.
You mean his boxing gym?
I want to buy a business. There's a business. I've been a member, and someone's going to watch this, and it's not going to go well, and that's okay.
It's going to go great because you're putting it into the world, and so TikTok, bitch.
TikTok, motherfucker. Things are working out for me. I've been going to the same gym for 11 years. It is my home. It is my sanctuary. It is also a place that my ex-boyfriend owns. And all I want to do, look, he's older. He wants to retire.
Take a load
I'm
off.
sure. I want to buy that gym. I want to own it. I want it. I want to own it. My gym. I'm going to give one more answer in case we decide we want to cut all that, because that might be a bit much. But I genuinely do want to buy the gym. I think that I would buy a house that has a backyard for Susan
And a sister.
For Susan. No, Susan needs a backyard.
Actually, are we talking money has no object at all?
Money has no object.
Okay, I want to amend my answer.
Amend your answer.
Backyard and dog and cow and goat.
Okay, so I did say one thing.
Oh,
but
one
if you want to
thing.
go farm.
Does that count?
Farm count. Okay, I think I need a glass of wine. It's been a day.
Yeah.
How
Damn,
do
we
you feel
just
about that?
downloaded all the things we've tried to forget for so long.
I just blocked all that out. I'm gonna call Megan, my therapist.
Yeah, I'm gonna
shout out Megan. Shout out Peach Honey and Sorry Dad. A word from our sponsors. We're business owners. Please go buy our business things and follow us on all the socials. We have an Instagram for Lore Zone. We have personal Instagrams. We have TikToks for Lore Zone. We have TikToks for ourselves, and they're all really fun times to be had by all. And so those are all the things.
And 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, love you. Bye.